Ethan never thought falling in love would feel like a medical emergency. Not the pounding heart, not the shortness of breath, not the tremor in his hands, but the terrifying realization that the man causing it all was standing right next to him, chart in hand, oblivious to the chaos inside Ethan's chest. Ryan, with his perfectly composed voice and that maddeningly calm smile, didn't seem to notice that Ethan was unraveling each night they worked together. Or maybe he did notice, and that was even worse. The hospital at 2 a.m. was a world of whispers and echoes. The kind of place where time bent and stretched until you couldn't remember when you last slept or if the world outside still existed. Ethan had learned to survive those hours by moving mechanically check vitals, change IVs, write notes, but lately, survival wasn't enough. Lately, he found himself watching Ryan instead of the monitors, listening to his laugh instead of the beeping machines, and feeling alive in ways that scared him. Ryan was everything Ethan wasn't. Confident, sharp, unshakable. The kind of doctor who could walk into chaos and somehow restore order with a single command. Patients trusted him instantly. Nurses adored him. Ethan admired him from a cautious distance, pretending it was just professional respect. But every night, that distance shrank. It started with small things. The way Ryan always brought him coffee without asking, black with 2 sugars because he remembered. The way their shoulders brushed when they worked side by side at the nurse's station. The way Ryan lingered after shift, just long enough to make Ethan wonder if he wanted to say something more. And yet, Ethan told himself it was nothing. Just kindness. Just friendship. He knew better than to believe in miracles. Growing up in a small conservative town in Ohio had taught him one thing. Love between men wasn't a story that ended well. But then came that night. A trauma case had rolled in, a teenage boy with a bullet wound, the kind of case that left everyone raw and trembling after. They had fought to save him for nearly an hour, blood everywhere. The boy's mother screaming in the hallway. And when it was over, when they finally lost him, Ethan had stumbled out of the room. His gloves still sticky with red, his stomach threatening to turn. Ryan found him leaning against the wall, pale and shaking. Without a word, Ryan pressed a hand against the back of his neck, grounding him, steadying him. Ethan looked up, and in that moment, amid grief, exhaustion, and silence, he saw it. A flicker in Ryan's eyes, a softness that went beyond friendship. He should have stepped back. He should have laughed it off. Instead, Ethan whispered, "Don't let go," and Ryan didn't. From that night on, something unspoken shifted between them. Their conversations grew deeper, laced with things left unsaid. They started sharing secrets in the lull between emergencies, Ethan admitting how lonely the city felt, Ryan confessing how much pressure his family put on him. Sometimes they laughed so hard in the break room that nurses peeked in to shush them. Other times, silence hung heavy, thick with questions neither dared to voice. But silence had its own language. Ethan felt it in the way Ryan's eyes lingered a fraction too long. In the brush of fingers when they passed charts. In the way Ryan's laugh softened only for him. And though fear gnawed at him, though memories of his father's cruel words echoed in his mind, couldn't deny it anymore. He wanted Ryan. The problem was, wanting wasn't safe. The first time they almost kissed, it was raining outside, the hospital windows streaked with silver. Their shift had just ended, and they were walking out together, shoulders brushing beneath one umbrella. Ryan stopped suddenly, turning to look at him, so close Ethan could see the flecks of green in his hazel eyes. "Ethan," Ryan said, voice low like a secret. Ethan's breath caught. "Yeah." For a heartbeat. Ryan leaned in so close Ethan swore he felt his breath on his lips. And then, just as quickly, Ryan pulled back, jaw tightening. "Never mind." The moment broke like glass. Ethan nodded, pretending it didn't matter, pretending his chest wasn't burning. But when he got home, alone in his apartment, he pressed a hand to his lips and wondered what would have happened if Ryan hadn't stopped. 2 weeks later, fate or maybe cruelty forced their hands. A patient coded in the middle of the night, alarms screaming. Ethan rushed in, adrenaline flooding his veins, and Ryan was already there, barking orders, pressing compressions with fierce determination. They worked side by side, sweat dripping, the world narrowing to the fragile body on the bed. When the patient's heart finally steadied, when the room filled with shaky relief, Ethan turned to Ryan and saw him trembling. For once, the unshakable Ryan looked human, vulnerable, undone. Without thinking, Ethan reached out, gripping his wrist. Ryan's eyes locked onto his, raw and searching. And before either of them could stop it, Ethan leaned forward and kissed him. It was quick, desperate, almost clumsy, but it was real. Ryan froze for a second. Then he kissed back, hard. The world outside that hospital room disappeared. For the first time, Ethan didn't care about consequences, didn't care who might walk in. All he cared about was the man in front of him, the taste of his lips, the way it felt like breathing for the first time. When they finally broke apart, gasping, Ryan whispered, "We can't do this here." Ethan nodded, but deep down he knew there was no going back. That night marked the beginning of something dangerous, something beautiful. They became reckless in small ways, lingering glances in hallways, brushing fingers beneath the table during staff meetings, secret smiles that no one else understood. At first, it felt like playing with fire, thrilling and terrifying all at once. But fire had a way of spreading. And soon, Ethan realized if they wanted to survive this, they'd have to stop hiding. The kiss haunted Ethan long after the night it happened. It wasn't just the sensation, the heat of Ryan's mouth, the strength of his hands, but the truth behind it. For the first time, Ethan knew it wasn't just his imagination. Ryan wanted him too, but wanting and admitting it were two different things. Ryan avoided him for 2 days after that night. 2 endless shifts filled with silence, clipped orders, and no eye contact. Ethan tried to act normal, but his chest ached every time Ryan brushed past him without a word. He told himself maybe it had just been a mistake, maybe Ryan regretted it. And then, on the 3rd night, Ryan pulled him onto the hospital rooftop. The air was cold. The city spread out below them, glittering in restless silence. Ryan stood with his back to him, hands gripping the railing so tight his knuckles turned white. "We need to talk," Ryan said finally. Ethan's heart pounded. "About the kiss?" Ryan turned, eyes stormy. "About everything." Ethan tried to smile, but it faltered. "You're going to tell me it meant nothing, right?" Ryan's jaw clenched. "I'm going to tell you it can't happen again." The words cut sharper than any scalpel. Ethan swallowed hard, forcing the lump in his throat down. "Why not?" Ryan looked at him then, and for the first time Ethan saw fun it for himself, but for them both. "Because people talk. Because you know how this place is. Because my father would disown me if he ever found out." Ethan felt his chest cave in. "So what? We just pretend it never happened." Ryan stepped closer, his voice breaking. "Do you think it's easy for me? Every second I'm near you, I feel like I'm about to lose control. I can't even think straight when you're around." "Then don't fight it," Ethan whispered. Ryan's hand hovered in the air, trembling, before finally pressing against Ethan's cheek. His thumb brushed lightly over Ethan's skin, soft, fragile. His voice was almost a plea. "If I let myself have you, I'll never be able to stop." "Then don't stop," Ethan breathed. And just like that, Ryan kissed him again. This time, there was no hesitation, no pulling back. It was raw, fierce, desperate, like two people clinging to the edge of something too big to name. The city below them kept breathing, but up there on the rooftop, only the two of them existed. When they finally broke apart, Ryan pressed his forehead against Ethan's, both of them gasping for air. "We can't be reckless," Ryan said, though his hands refused to let go. Ethan nodded, but deep down, he knew reckless was already their reality. From that night on, secrecy became their shadow. They stole minutes where they could. A lingering touch in the stairwell, a hushed laugh in the break room. Sometimes, if the halls were empty, Ryan would press Ethan against the wall for a quick kiss, both of them pulling away too fast when footsteps echoed nearby. It was maddening. Ethan wanted more than fragments. He wanted nights that weren't broken by alarms, mornings that weren't filled with guilt. But Ryan always pulled back just before they got too close. One night, Ethan finally asked why. They were sitting in Ethan's car, parked a few blocks from the hospital, rain drumming against the windshield. Ryan leaned back in the passenger seat, exhausted but still beautiful in that infuriating way of his. "Why do you keep running from this?" Ethan asked quietly. Ryan stared at the rain, jaw tight. "Because I don't know how to live with it." Ethan frowned. "With me? With what people will say?" Ryan admitted. "With what my family will think. My father spent his entire life building a name in medicine. He expects me to carry it. You know what it would do to him if he broke off," shaking his head. "I can't destroy everything he worked for." Ethan's throat burned. "And what about what you want?" Ryan finally looked at him, eyes glistening with something that wasn't just exhaustion. "What I want terrifies me." For a moment, silence filled the car. Only the rain spoke, pounding against the glass like 1,000 tiny hammers. Ethan reached out, covering Ryan's hand with his own. "Maybe being terrified means it's real." Ryan didn't answer, but he didn't pull his hand away either. The breaking point came sooner than either of them expected. A nurse spotted them one night, nothing obvious. Just the way Ryan's hand lingered on Ethan's back a little too long. The way they laughed like no one else existed. By the end of the week, whispers ran through the hospital like wildfire. "Are they? Have you seen the way they look at each other? God, I hope not. That's disgusting." The words dug deep, sharper than scalpels, crueler than any wound. Ethan tried to ignore them, tried to pretend it didn't matter. But one night, walking through the cafeteria, he heard someone mutter loud enough for everyone to hear. "No wonder they take so many night shifts. They're probably screwing in the supply closet." Laughter followed. Ethan froze, blood rushing to his ears. Ryan, standing beside him, went pale. Without a word, Ryan turned and walked out. Ethan chased him, heart racing, catching him in the stairwell. "Ryan, don't," Ryan snapped, his voice harsh with anger and something deeper. "Don't follow me." Ethan grabbed his arm anyway. "We can't let them control us. We can't keep living in fear." Ryan spun on him, eyes blazing. "Easy for you to say. You didn't grow up with my father. You don't know what he's capable of. If he finds out, then let him find out." Ethan shouted. "Let the whole damn world find out. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending this doesn't mean everything to me." Ryan stared at him, chest heaving, torn between fury and pain. "You don't understand," he whispered. Ethan's voice broke. "Then make me understand. Because right now, it feels like I'm the only one fighting for us." Ryan's silence was worse than words. He just turned, walked down the stairs, and left Ethan standing alone in the dim light. That night, Ethan lay awake in his apartment, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed with messages from friends, from his mother, from colleagues, but not from Ryan. Not one word. For the first time, Ethan wondered if maybe this love would break him. But even as his chest ached, even as fear clawed at him, one truth burned steady inside him. He wasn't ready to give up. Not on Ryan. Not on them. The silence between them stretched into days, then weeks. At work, they became strangers again. Ryan issued orders without looking at him. Ethan forced himself to respond with clipped professionalism. To anyone else, it might have seemed normal. To Ethan, every second was torture. He tried to tell himself to let go, to forget the rooftop kisses, the car rides, the stolen touches, to bury it all under the rhythm of the hospital, the endless ringing of pagers, the monotony of charting, the exhaustion of midnight codes. But at night, when Ethan came home and collapsed on his bed, the emptiness was unbearable. He'd catch himself scrolling through his phone, staring at Ryan's number, thumb hovering over the call button. He never pressed it, until one night he did. It was past 3 a.m., and Ethan had just gotten home from a brutal shift where nothing seemed to go right. He hadn't even changed out of his scrubs. The city outside his window was silent, but inside his chest was a storm. He pressed Ryan's contact. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. He almost hung up. Then Ryan's voice came through, groggy but steady. "Ethan?" Ethan swallowed hard, trying to keep his voice even. I didn't know who else to call. There was a pause, then the sound of sheets rustling. What's wrong? Ethan laughed bitterly. Everything. Within 20 minutes, Ryan was at his door. Ethan didn't remember moving into Ryan's arms, only the sudden relief of being there. He buried his face in Ryan's chest, inhaling the familiar scent of soap and coffee and something purely him. For the first time in weeks, he let himself cry. Ryan held him without a word, one hand at the back of his head, the other rubbing slow circles between his shoulder blades. Felt like coming home. When Ethan finally pulled back, his face hot with shame, Ryan's expression nearly undid him. Not pity, not discomfort, just raw, unguarded tenderness. Don't shut me out, Ethan whispered. Ryan closed his eyes, jaw tight. I don't know how to do this, Ethan. I don't know how to love you without destroying everything else. Ethan's throat tightened. Then destroy it. Let it burn. Because I'm drowning without you. Ryan opened his eyes, and something in them broke. He kissed Ethan like a man starved, like he'd been holding his breath for weeks and finally allowed himself air. Ethan melted into it, hands clutching at Ryan's shirt as if letting go meant losing him forever. This time there were no barriers. They stumbled to the couch, lips never breaking, hands desperate and clumsy with need. It wasn't just desire, it was grief, longing, and the wild relief of finally being seen. Every kiss was an apology. Every touch was a confession. And when they finally lay tangled together, breathless and undone, Ethan realized something terrifying. He wasn't just in love. He was his, completely. The weeks that followed were a fragile paradise. They kept their secret carefully guarded, but behind closed doors it was different. Ryan started spending nights at Ethan's apartment, sneaking in after shifts and leaving before dawn. They cooked together in the tiny kitchen, laughing when Ryan inevitably burned the eggs. They curled up on the couch with takeout, Ryan pretending to critique the medical accuracy of TV dramas while Ethan teased him for being such a perfectionist. It was domestic, simple, achingly normal, and that was what made it so dangerous. Because normal made Ethan greedy. He wanted to hold Ryan's hand in public. He wanted to kiss him without checking if the blinds were closed. He wanted to say his name out loud without worrying who might overhear. But Ryan still flinched every time Ethan hinted at going public. One night, Ethan finally asked. They were lying in bed, the city lights spilling faintly through the blinds. Ethan traced lazy circles on Ryan's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Do you ever think about what it would be like if we didn't have to hide? Ethan murmured. Ryan's hand stilled in his hair. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, conflicted. All the time, Ethan lifted his head, searching his eyes. Then why not? Why can't we stop pretending? Ryan sighed, cupping the back of Ethan's neck. Because the world isn't ready. Because my family isn't ready. Because if people at the hospital find out, it could ruin us. Ethan's chest tightened. So we just keep sneaking around forever? Ryan kissed his forehead, as if that could erase the ache. No. Just until we're strong enough to handle what comes after. It wasn't the answer Ethan wanted, but it was the only one Ryan could give. That fragile balance shattered one afternoon. They were in the ER, exhausted after a grueling shift. Ryan was reviewing charts when a nurse, one of the ones who had never liked Ethan, walked by and muttered just loud enough. Guess favoritism comes easy when you're sleeping with the attending. The words hit like a slap. Ethan froze, his stomach plummeting. Ryan's head snapped up, fury blazing in his eyes. What did you just say? The nurse smirked, unfazed. Oh, come on. Everyone knows. You think you're subtle? The way you two look at each other. Ryan was across the room in seconds, his voice sharp with anger. You don't get to talk about him like that. Ryan, Ethan hissed, tugging at his sleeve, but Ryan shook him off. The nurse shrugged. If it's not true, then why so defensive? Before Ryan could respond, Ethan grabbed his arm and pulled him away, heart racing. They locked themselves in an empty supply room, the silence deafening. Ryan paced like a caged animal, fists clenched. I swear to God, I'm going to... Stop, Ethan interrupted. You're making it worse. Ryan turned on him, eyes blazing. You think I can just let people talk about you like that? Like we're some dirty secret? Ethan's voice cracked. But isn't that exactly what we are? The words hung heavy between them. Ryan flinched as if struck. Ethan's chest ached, but he didn't back down. I love you, Ryan. But I can't keep doing this hiding. Pretending. Watching people tear us apart while you refuse to admit we exist. Ryan's voice broke. Ethan. Tears burned Ethan's eyes, but he forced himself to hold Ryan's gaze. If you can't stand with me out there, then don't stand with me at all. The silence that followed was unbearable. Ryan's lips parted like he wanted to say something, but no words came. And in that silence, Ethan felt something inside him shatter. That night, Ethan packed a bag. Ryan didn't come over. He didn't call. He didn't fight for him. Ethan lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe this was how their story ended, not with fire, but with silence. And yet, even as pain gnawed at him, one stubborn truth refused to die. He still loved Ryan. And some part of him believed Ryan still loved him too. Ethan didn't think Ryan would come. He sat on the edge of his bed, suitcase packed, heart hollow. The apartment was quiet, stripped of the laughter and warmth Ryan had brought into it. Every detail hurt: the coffee mug Ryan always used, the jacket he'd left draped over the chair, the faint scent of his cologne that lingered in the sheets. Ethan told himself this was the right choice. That love wasn't supposed to feel like suffocating in the dark. That if Ryan couldn't choose him, then he had to choose himself. But as he zipped his suitcase and carried it to the door, his hands shook. His chest ached like he was tearing out a piece of himself and leaving it behind. He was halfway down the stairs when he heard it. Ethan! His heart stopped. He turned and there was Ryan, breathless, hair disheveled, still in scrubs, as if he'd run straight from the hospital. His eyes were wild, desperate, like a man on the edge of losing everything. Don't go, Ryan gasped, chest heaving. Please, don't walk away. Ethan froze, suitcase handle gripped tight. Ryan crossed the distance in 3 strides, grabbing his arm like he was afraid Ethan might vanish. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have said it sooner, but I was scared. I thought I could keep you safe by hiding, by pretending. But all I did was hurt you. Tears blurred Ethan's vision. You can't just show up now and say the words I've been waiting for. Yes, I can. Ryan cut in, voice breaking. Because if I don't, I'll lose you. And I can't, Ethan. I can't live without you. For a long moment, silence hung heavy between them. Ethan's breath came in shudders, his heart torn between anger and love. Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. I love you. I've loved you every second of every shift, every stolen moment. Every night I fell asleep wishing I was here. And if the world finds out, if my father disowns me, if the hospital turns its back on me, don't care. None of it matters if I don't have you. Ethan's suitcase slipped from his hand, thudding against the floor. You love me? He whispered. Ryan nodded, tears shining in his eyes. More than I know how to handle. More than I thought I could love anyone. Ethan's chest cracked open, the pain spilling out, replaced by something fierce and bright. He surged forward, kissing Ryan like it was the only thing tethering him to the earth. Ryan kissed him back with the same desperation, holding him as if he'd never let go again. When they broke apart, both trembling, Ethan whispered, Then don't ever make me hide again. Ryan cupped his face, pressing their foreheads together. Never. Promise. From now on, the world can see us. The fallout was inevitable. When word spread, some colleagues whispered. Some frowned. A few patients requested to be seen by someone else. And Ryan's father predictably exploded. He called Ryan reckless, accused him of throwing away everything for a phase. He threatened to cut him off, to destroy his career. But Ryan stood firm. I'd rather lose everything than lose him, he told his father, his voice steady even as his hands shook after the call. And though the threats hurt, though the judgment stung, something miraculous happened too. Other colleagues, nurses, residents, even a few attendings came quietly to them, offering support. Don't listen to them. You're both damn good doctors. Love's hard enough to find in this world and let anyone take it from you. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And for the first time, Ethan felt like they weren't just surviving, they were living. Months passed. Their relationship no longer lived in shadows. They walked into work together, ate lunch side by side in the cafeteria, even bickered over chart notes in full view of everyone. Some people still whispered, but most moved on. Outside the hospital, life bloomed. They spent weekends exploring the city, going to art galleries, wandering through parks, discovering hole-in-the-wall diners at 3 in the morning. They cooked dinner together more often, Ethan teasing Ryan's terrible knife skills, Ryan retaliating with flour on his face. And slowly, Ryan learned to stop looking over his shoulder. One Sunday morning, as sunlight streamed through the blinds, Ryan lay beside Ethan, tracing lazy patterns on his arm. His voice was soft, almost disbelieving. I used to think love would ruin me, that it would strip me of everything I'd worked for. Ethan tilted his head, smiling faintly. And now, Ryan kissed the corner of his mouth, gentle. Sure. Now I know love saved me. You saved me. Ethan's chest tightened, eyes burning with quiet joy. We saved each other. The night shifts were still long. The work was still brutal. The world still held its cruelty. But in the quiet moments, in the brush of Ryan's hand against his, in the warmth of his laughter, in the simple act of falling asleep together after a storm, Ethan found something worth every risk. Love. Not the kind that lived in shadows. Not the kind that broke under the weight of fear. But love that endured. Love that burned brighter than judgment. Love that belonged to them and no one else. Months later, on another rooftop, the city sprawled below them in glittering silence. Ethan leaned against the railing, the same place where it had all begun, where fear had once outweighed courage. Ryan slipped his arms around his waist from behind, pressing a kiss to his temple. Do you remember the first time we stood here? Ryan murmured. Ethan chuckled softly. You told me we couldn't do this. Ryan smiled against his skin. And now I'm telling you I'll never stop. Ethan turned in his arms, looking into the eyes that had once terrified him, now the safest place he knew. Good, because I'm not letting you. Ryan kissed him then, slow and certain, the city lights flickering around them like stars. And for the first time, Ethan believed in miracles. Not the kind written in medical charts or whispered in prayers, but the kind found in night shifts, in broken hearts mended, in love that dared to survive, the kind that turned friendship into forever. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.